It's live is live. Oh, there we go. It's the broadcast is live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here and we are live from various studios around the world. We are here today to talk about Survivor BC Season 5, Deus Ex Machina. I'm here with my amazing and talented and intelligent panel. We'll start out with someone who is so intelligent, so knowledgeable about these games, someone whose insight we are all yearning to hear. Someone who I've never really talked to much in almost any capacity, so everything I just said is kind of unsubstantiated. I'm here with Hannah. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Devon. Hello, everybody. I have never played Survivor BC, but I have recently become a big fan, and I was watching the last 2 summers. I've watched the live videos. I have played Survival Challenge, which was in Illinois, and I make Survivor episodes myself for Survival Challenge, and Jaira is my like the god that I worship of I'm just kidding, but his videos are amazing. When this episode was called Rushed Release, I was like, this is better than anything I've ever made, this rushed release. Okay, anyways, we'll get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not kidding when I say that Jaira is my god and that I look up to his wisdom. We're also here today with a man who in Survivor BC Season 7 that just aired, captivated us, stole all of our hearts, played an amazing game that we all admire. He is the moment, Stevie Wild.
Stop. No, I'm so happy to be here because I am a really big fan of Survivor BC. I've seen all the episodes. So to come here and get to chat about it while I'm living in life of luxury, I am down for that. And then obviously I played Survivor BC Season 7 myself, so I have a little bit of experience with it. So very happy to be here. Thanks, Devon.
And on that same beat, we have a man who participated in Season 7. He is Matt.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so I participated in Season 7 this summer. It was what an experience. I can't even describe it. I only lasted 3 days, whereas Stevie was there till day 6. So yeah, but me and Stevie were on a tribe together, and we were actually in an alliance together. So who knows what happened? But we're not here to talk about our season. We're here to talk about Season 5.
And that's what a great segue into this. So basically the idea in general, I don't want these to be very long. I want these to be really punchy and just go over the beats of the episode and then wrap up maybe in half an hour. This, it's okay if it takes longer because I do want to go over what happened in the pre-merge a little bit just to kind of give context, and because I don't know, maybe the people in the pre-merge would want to hear what unspoiled people think about them. I don't know. So we'll do kind of punchy awards at the end of an episode recap, but I also want to start with that for the pre-merge. So just really quick, we started with 2 tribes, the purple tribe Medea that wins out on all the challenges. Their dynamics are kind of up in the air. It's really tough to even talk about. We got footage of them, but it seemed very much up in the air about what would happen. It seemed like Cole and Jeff were kind of on the bottom, but it's really just a big question mark for the most part. We see Kirk get an idol and Hunter assist him with that. But again, it wasn't really clear. Even though they had to go to tribal council right before the merge in a swap formation, it was a kind of clear boot in Trevor, who is, for whatever reason, obviously associated with Tyler. So unless anyone has anything to say, it doesn't seem like on that end of things, both in the pre-merge, the pre-swap and the swap formation of that tribe, that it just seemed like a big question mark because they never were really tested. Any thoughts?
I gotta say, when Kirk finding the idol was pretty thrilling to watch. I know Kirk because he was a volunteer at Survival Challenge, so I've gotten to know him since then. And watching your friend find an idol on YouTube on your TV is pretty fun. So yeah. I loved the idol search. And was it under a table? Is that where?
So I'll give some context and also take this opportunity to take a bit of credit. It was my idea to have hidden at each camp in the pre-swap was not an idol. It was a clue to an idol at a future challenge. And so Austin actually found the clue on the Hecuba tribe, and Kirk found it on Medea. And so it led to this kind of showdown where those 2 people knew that there's an idol hidden at the same challenge. But Kirk got there first. Austin, his tribe got there really late, so he knew it was gone and all that. But I forget if he told anyone. I think Jack was kind of aware, but it was a fun kind of showdown. But in a way, the Crooks tribe got there way before it. It was just him like trying to rustle it. Like he knew where it was. He just couldn't like get it loose. So Hunter had to help him. Yeah, that was such a fun moment. Taylor St. Louis with the assist on the camera angle there. That was a great moment. So we move on from that to where most of the stuff happens in the pre-merge, which is on this Hecuba tribe, where in the pre-swap, I mean, the big story and one of my favorite storylines that I've seen play out live in a game is this rivalry that emerges between Tyler and Austin, which was so fun. I mean, they're just like such polar opposites, but they're like big personalities in their own right. I mean, we see Tyler kind of wanting to work with Austin because he's a returnee at first. And then that just quickly breaks down. Austin is very clearly with Taylor and Jack. Tyler has like Suzette. And then you have kind of in the middle, Regan, Trevor, and Mason. And I mean, we can go over a lot with this vote, but the main thing is that it becomes a 4-3 with Mason in the middle. There's 4 votes on Taylor, 3 votes on Tyler, and then Mason decides to go with the votes against Taylor and then flip the next round when it's harder, when he's gotten someone out that wanted Tyler out, then he goes to the next round to make, even though he's made it more difficult on himself. I mean, so much, a lot to cover. Let's just start with let's actually go to our senior Tyler Kakuno correspondent, Stevie Wild. Stevie, what was your impression about how Tyler maneuvered through these first 2 rounds of the game?
I loved watching Tyler's gameplay the first 2 rounds of this game because obviously he came into the season with such a huge target on his back, playing Survivor BC once before, winning in a really infamous way. And I think the first vote of season 5 was like such an exciting first vote because you really don't know which way it's going to be. It's kind of like these 2 sides vying over the few people in the middle. And like, I really didn't know what is the right thing to do. Are you going to team up with Tyler, the Antichrist, or are you going to team up with Taylor, who's got friends on the other tribe? It seems like you're choosing between like 2 horrible options. So I thought that especially the first vote was really exciting. And I think when Austin kind of calls Tyler out or he's defending Taylor during that first tribal council, like that's kind of when Austin really like drew the line in the sand that he was not going to ride the Tyler train. And
yeah, it's a trip to be on a tribe with Tyler in a game like this, and I think that's the decision: is do you just get him out right away, or do you sort of keep him around as a shield? Like he's never going to be the person that goes like second or third on a tribe. He's either the first boot or he's like going to make merge. Matt is someone who is on a tribe with Tyler as well, and who took perhaps a different approach than Stevie did with respect to Tyler. What do you think about the people in the middle ultimately siding with Tyler, and whether that felt like the right call, or should they have joined the resistance and try to get out Tyler first?
I think from past experience, when you have a returning player like a Tyler, who is a major meat shield going into like any type of merge or mix up or something like that, you have to keep him around. And I think probably my biggest mistake from season 7 was to do what kind of Taylor did. I don't know if Taylor really had much of a choice in that first vote. But I went after Tyler as kind of like this, all right, we're going after each other and there's no other way, but there's always a different way. There's always another approach. It's just, you have to find it. So I think that what they did was probably the right choice. It's just too bad that Hecuba Green tribe just kept losing and losing and losing, which really puts you like below in numbers. And it's really hard to recover from that during a merge situation, like we're going to see here coming up.
Yeah, it is really interesting to think about how so much of it was exacerbated by them losing so many challenges. Like there were 3 before they went to swap. If they had won just one of them, Austin would have made swap, which is weird to think about. I want to turn things over also to our senior Austin Bear correspondent, Hannah. Hannah, you got the pleasure or perhaps displeasure of playing with Austin in a recent online game. What were your thoughts on Austin dumping out the food and the pre-merge and his whole
much. I have so many thoughts. So when I was watching the beginning of season 5, I forget when did these episodes, I don't remember when these episodes first came out, but I was like right on it. As soon as these episodes were getting released, I was watching, and I was anti-Tyler the second I was watching that episode. I think Cheston said in this last episode that he's president of the anti-Tyler club, Well, I'm vice president. Okay. I could not stand him. And I'm sure he's probably maybe pleasant as a human being, but I cannot stand the gamer Tyler. And I'll bring that up as we keep talking, and he can handle it. And when the way he treated Taylor, St. Louis, Precious, TSL, I was so furious while I was watching. I was like, I cannot believe these people are aligning with him after what he's saying about her, and she's talking about getting bullied. Anyways. So then you said that the rivalry was Austin versus Tyler. So what am I supposed to do? Root for Austin? So when he comes back from camp and he pours out the food, that no one likes someone who pours out the food, right? No, there's never. So like he's doing that, and I'm like, oh, this guy is an idiot. What is he doing? And then, guys, I play my first online game ever. I just finished it. And guess who's on my tribe? Austin Breer. I'm like the dude who dumped out the food, okay? And guys, I aligned with him, and we named our alliance Team Gyra, okay? I'm like, here we go. Our Survivor BC connection will pull us through. And he gunned for me that whole game. Devon, shouldn't the Survivor BC connection have brought us together? But he had nothing to do with me. I don't know. Something about these alpha males can't handle girls playing with them. So anyways,
Austin's a wild stallion. He goes where the wind takes him.
When I reamed him out in jury, he explained what he was doing, and I understand what he was doing. So anyways, I just hate them both.
That's
End of
totally
story.
fair. Yeah, it's definitely it's the kind of feud where it's like very reasonable to just like be against both of them, be like, I hate both these people. But they have some interesting people that were allies. Obviously, Taylor is super robbed, but she got a chance to play season 6, which is cool. And then you have Jack, who is the guy who lived, who survived, who was clearly on that side, and he gets through 3 votes on this tribe and gets to swap. This isn't actually leading to a point on Jack. It's just he makes swap. I just wanted to bring that up because I don't know that Jack has much of an impact on these episodes. Yeah, I mean, he's just sort of like someone that's surviving right now,
right?
And yeah, I mean, we have this drama. I actually did want to go over a couple more because I thought there's some really interesting decision points that come up at the swap. So we get the swap, and again, the purple tribe is just like a clear majority of old purple tribe people that plays out straightforwardly. Jack quickly aligns with those people and makes his new group, so to speak, and he votes with them. We see him vote with them at the merge. But again, the interesting stuff happens on this new formation of the Green Tribe, where we have Tyler, Regan, and Suzette from the old Green Tribe. I'm just going to call it Green Tribe. It's so much more simple in my head, even though it's there and like help name the tribes. And then you have they're joined by 3 people from the original Medea tribe, Cole, Sam, and Amos, with Nolan kind of waiting in the wings once they lose the challenge. Nolan's going to join the tribe once they lose. So they go to tribal council, and this wasn't shown in the episode, but it originally tied. It tied 3-3, and then on the revote, Cole and Sam voted out Amos, basically with the idea of, and it's a weird kind of spot in Survivor, but even if you plan on flipping, it kind of makes sense to vote in a 3-3 just because it, like, let's say Tyler gives you an assurance that it's not you and that they want to flip on like Amos. It still makes sense to vote with Amos on the initial vote, just because if you make it a 3-3, like essentially Cole and Cole and Sam, if they had voted like against Amos voted for Tyler, then Tyler, Regan, and Suzette have 3 votes and they can vote out whoever they want.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It opens up that opportunity for a 3-2-1. So we see Cole and Sam kind of recognize this like weird strategic fork in the road, make it a tie vote, and then flip on Amos on the revote because they have Nolan coming back, waiting in the wings to join the tribe. Any thoughts on that as it actually played out? Does that make sense roughly, or do you kind of like the idea of just voting straight up for Amos to kind of build trust? Do you think that was played? Any thoughts on that particular vote and the weird decision that came into that?
I personally wouldn't have thought of that, but that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that I hadn't I like to think like sharp at strategy, but it was something that after the fact, oh yeah, that makes sense. So
Cole is all about the numbers. He's all about the math, percentages, ratios, all the things.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely Cole's character type as his archetype in this game for sure. And then so yeah, we see Nolan do come back. And speaking of Cole, this is a good transition because we see this really interesting spot where they have a challenge where the winner of the challenge leaves the tribe and goes to Exile Island, doesn't vote at tribal council, which is an interesting spot when you're in a 3-3 situation. Tyler, Regan, and Suzette. Cole, Nolan, and Sam. And they're told about the challenge. Everyone sits out except for Cole and Nolan. They go up. And Cole realizes he's screwed. It's a physical challenge that he's not going to beat Nolan in. So he makes a decision to try to get Nolan not to play. I was filming this like as it was happening. It was really fascinating, like middle of the night. I think it's like raining or something. And it's just like with the spotlight on them and Cole's just frantically negotiating for his life because if they play the challenge, if they don't just all sit out and just go to tribal council 3-3, Nolan's going and then Cole's probably getting voted out because he stood out as someone to try to win immunity. So Cole's entire life is on the line here in this situation. And he eventually succeeds in getting Nolan to not play the challenge. And they both just go back to camp. No one wins immunity, but no one leaves the tribe. Any thoughts on like how this played out and just this crazy kind of situation? Because I thought this was one of the most interesting decision points of the pre-merge.
Yeah, so far this is Cole's move of his season. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But that may have saved his life.
Mm-hmm. And just to sort of add on to that too, for the context, they then go to tribal council, and again Cole comes into it with the idea that they'll tie on the initial vote, and then I actually forget if Cole's intention was to go to Rocks or to like vote someone out, but Nolan just doesn't care. Nolan just like hears a pitch from Tyler that they want to vote out Sam, so he just votes out Sam on the first vote, and so it's 4-2 against Sam. Thoughts on any other thoughts on how Nolan or Cole played that round?
Yeah, I definitely agree that Cole convincing Nolan not to do the immunity challenge was one of the biggest moves of the season we've seen so far. Like, that's some really high level shizzle to like just use your social game to convince someone not to compete for their only chance of like guaranteed safety. So I was really impressed. And I also thought that scene really exemplified how difficult the season of Survivor was, like in regards to the surviving aspect and how cold it was, because the tribe was so cold that they didn't even want to get up to compete for safety. Like that's how bad it was. So I thought it was a really exciting moment of the pre-merge.
When I was watching it, I was like yelling at Nolan not to do it. I was like, keep on doing it. Don't do it. You're going to get voted out if you don't like give up, you know? So I didn't want him to give up, but I guess I should have been yelling at Sam not to.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting how it ended up falling on Sam despite
and he
Cole
had no
Nolan
idea. He just it was off. You're just like he's like the sweetest guy, and then you're just like he has no idea he's about to get voted out, or I don't know.
It felt like the day of. I think he was getting vibes from Tyler. Like I think he took it well. I think he had just realized where this was leading, but definitely wasn't bitter about it. Like I think he's just still really likes everyone. You see that come through, I think, in the Ponderosa footage. So yeah, and then I guess that is actually before we get into that, it's a good segue to merge, but I want to add just quickly between you three, who would you say is like the MVP, the standout player who played the best game of the pre-merge? We'll start with Matt.
Oh, put me on the spot. I mean, that move by Cole I thought was really good. Tyler, I don't know how he does it every season, but for some reason he's been able to survive. So he's got his nice core group going. I mean, that's MVP status right there. Yeah, there's a few others.
Got to make up your mind, Matt. Give me a hot take. Give me a name.
I'm going with Cole.
Ooh, goes with Cole as the MVP. Stevie.
I'm 1,000% on the Tyler train this season. Like, oh my gosh. Like, because basically half the cast, they haven't even gone to a tribal council. Like, quite a few people haven't even gone to a tribal council to the point where we get to merge. So I feel like the pre-merge it's all about Tyler and Suzette and Regan. And, like, come on. What an all-star alliance. Like, you've got you've got Tyler and Regan, two of the best ever Survivor BC players, and then you got Suzette, like our Big Brother Canada star. Like, what an epic alliance to have in Survivor BC. I just love watching this trio basically run the game for the pre-merge. So I definitely will give kudos to Tyler most of all.
Yeah, and really quick, it was fun to just be at their camp and film. I remember during the season, they just were the most like interesting, like fun people to be around. Suzette had some really fun stories about just like being on Big Brother Canada and like reality TV events. She had some really good insight too into just like how people of color are treated like in these communities and all that. Like just these fat conversations and points that she brought up. It was so cool to like be there in person for that season. Finally, Hannah, I know that you didn't like many people, but
I'm a big Suzette fan though. Like when you're talking about her, like I could listen like her confessionals. I could just listen to her talk like all day. She's so great. I want to give an honorable mention to the side eye that Kirk gives Jack when Jack votes for him. When Jack said that he was going to vote with them for who did they vote out at the last?
They voted out Trevor 3-2.
When they voted out
Jack
Trevor,
ended up voting with Trevor at that vote. Interestingly, yeah,
and Kirk. I loved the side eye he gave Jack. It was beautiful. But I got to give an MVP to Jeff not going to one tribal council. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's go, Jeff. And his emotional moment on the edge. Did you guys love that? I mean, not the edge. Oh my gosh, Exile. Sorry, I'm so used to saying edge. When he's on Exile, the emotional music about how he's in a quarter life crisis, how he's like, going to change his life, and he solved the idol clue so fast. I did not understand the idol clue. So, anyway, so shout out to Jeff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Jeff is, and still to this day, potentially the only person in Survivor BC history to not have to go to tribal council at all in the pre-merge. And if you don't, I mean, we've talked a lot about what happens in season 7. So if you don't want to get spoiled about it, just sort of skip ahead like 30 seconds or cover your ears for 30 seconds. It's kind of funny how in season 7, he doesn't he loses his vote, so he goes to one tribal council, gets voted out, and loses his vote. So technically, the streak is still alive for 2 seasons. But he's never cast a vote at a pre-merge tribal council.
Oh right,
kind of funny. All right,
legend status.
Spoilers don't end it. So yeah, I mean, so I think that transitions us to the merge, this episode, this rush release episode that we are here to talk about today. I mean, we see the gameplay start to ramp up after the merge feast, which is always so fun to film and just see like these starved people see real world food for the first time and be excited about that. It's always super fun.
In a suitcase. I loved zipping open the suitcase. And then it says drop your buffs. Yeah. Like Survivor can never.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is better. CBS, eat your heart out. And then we get to this breakdown, and and it seems to break down across. I mean, we see the eventual vote break down strictly on swap tribe lines, where Tyler, Regan, Suzette, Cole, and Nolan vote together against Kirk, Hunter, Cheston, Jeff, and Jack, who's with them. But a lot of this episode is about who's potentially in the middle and the negotiations around that. And we see that Jeff is someone that, I guess because he never had to vote with that tribe, is approached by Tyler and Nolan. We see Jeff and Kirk Jeff and Kirk really as people that are being approached by the other side for potentially flipping. We see kind of like Cole and Nolan, obviously, because they were voting against Tyler, Regan, and Suzette, all that swap. And it's this kind of like back and forth about who's going to flip. Stevie, as someone in a season that it kind of broke down at the merge, where it was like original tribe versus original tribe to an extent. Is there ever any justification for flipping from like a big group this early? Do you think someone missed an opportunity to make a flip, or did this kind of just make sense for everyone to go strict tribal lines 5-5? Oh, did I cut out?
I don't know. It's really situational. You can go either way on it depending on the situation. I feel. Sorry, am I cutting out there?
Yeah, I think it's cutting out, at least on my end.
Sorry about that.
I can hear you okay. You can keep going.
Okay.
I think in a situation, one of the tribes, Okay, sorry guys. In this situation, one of the tribes, like they didn't vote together before the swap, so like the tribal lines really, I don't know, they're not that solid because voting is what really brings you together as a tight group. So
Mhm.
like that original group wasn't super tight in the first place, so I think it did make sense for, I don't know, it would make sense to flip if it's going to give you a better position, especially when that first original group was so big. Um,
Yeah.
like Jeff, for example, is on the bottom of the very original group. So you got to do what's best for you. So
Yeah, that's such a good point. And that, like, I hadn't really thought about it until just discussing it with you guys now. But it is funny how Jeff, in a sense, really isn't on that side because he never did vote with them, and presumably, from what we, at least from what we see in like confessionals in the early episodes, Jeff was potentially on the bottom. So maybe Jeff did miss an opportunity to make a flip here. It's tough because on the other side, it's just Tyler is such a lightning rod, and I mean, maybe you can bring it back again to one of our Tyler Kakuno correspondents, and Matt. Matt, can you ever see yourself on this other? Like, let's say you're on an original tribe and you don't know where you stand, but the only other option is flipping and working with the devil himself, Tyler Kakuno. Like, is that? Do you just try to get Tyler at first and then flip, or did someone miss an opportunity to work with this flip to Tyler right away?
Yeah, like we're gonna get into what happens at the end of this, but it's pretty crazy when the vote at the end goes 5-5. I mean, we're not there yet, but that's eventually what it's a split vote, like right down the middle. So if there wasn't any hidden things, it could have gone to revote, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's so many people here that feel like they're a swing vote. I mean, like even Hunter, like I know he's on a side, but he felt like he was just right out to, left field and no one wanted to play with him. And then you got, of course, your Nolan and Cole and Jeff and Kirk seem to be kind of a pair, but they're also a swing pair. So, I mean, there are just so many swing positions. It's so hard to say where to go. You could really just pick up with, say, Tyler and Regan and Suzette and be like, okay, we're a solid 4, and at some point get them out. So,
yeah, I'm wondering why, like, where, maybe I'm trying to like remember the Jack story, like why Jack stuck. So he's stuck with the Kirk side, right?
Oh yeah, I can add some context to this. So basically, I think this is fair to fill in the blank because we don't see a lot of like why this occurs in the episode, but essentially Jack was fully committed to working with Kirk and Cheston and like just that side of things. I think he only cast the vote. I mean he said he only cast the vote like I think in a confessional it didn't air or something, that he just wanted to make it seem like he hadn't totally flipped to the other side, like he wanted to sort of create some deception there. It's weird because they didn't see the tribal council. You do wonder if it was just like a fan fiction kind of like thing he said after the fact, but that was his justification. Like he is fully with them. The vote was just kind of like to give some plausible deniability that, like, I think they were trying to say, I think at the merge part of, they were trying to like make their alliance structure less obvious. So Kirk was like, yeah, like Jack voted against me, what the hell, when Jack was like firmly with him.
Oh,
that was the vibe I got. Yeah, so,
that's okay.
Just to clear that up, but yeah.
Who do you guys think would have gone home? Like how Matt said, if there wasn't an idol played, if it was 5-5, who do you think people would be willing to lose, Suzette or Cheston? I think that Cole's not taking those chances. Cole's running the numbers in his head. He's not putting his hand in a bag of rocks. He's not going to take that probability. And he'd be whispering to Nolan, we have a 0.25% chance that there's a 96% chance that you're going to get the rock. So let's not. Yeah. So let's flip,
No, it's an interesting point.
He's a math guy.
I think Cole, yeah, it's funny. I do think Cole is the kind, from what I've seen of him since, I think he is the kind that like is willing to go to rocks if necessary, but I do think that like he probably did see himself as more of a free agent at this point anyway, so yeah, maybe he wouldn't have had a problem just flipping on a revote and voting out Suzette. I think that's a totally fair point,
but like what a bad spot he's in right now. Or him, and like, they ended up sticking to like a certain number, and then they're lower in numbers, and the other side's not going to want to work with them, right? I mean, do they have hope?
Yeah, well, I wanted to add too.
There is the one
Before
positive of flushing
Yeah.
the idol.
Yes.
Yeah, which was obviously Kirk's idol. It wasn't shown, but it was like obviously Kirk had passed his idol to Cheston. So that was the idol that Kirk had found with Hunter's help. So yeah, that's out of the game now. I guess yeah.
Did you have any insight? Did we see like how they knew the vote was Cheston, or was that a risk in itself?
Well, we see because this segues into some other points I was going to make about the episode, because we see throughout the episode the name that is given to Jeff and Kirk, and really anyone that will listen from Tyler's Cheston. Tyler's like, yeah, let's just vote out Cheston. Let's vote out Cheston. We see one fake combo, kind of obviously fake combo, with Tyler talking to Cheston and being like, yeah, just give me a name. I'll vote out that person. And that's where you get the Cheston confessional about, I'm the anti-Tyler
President.
the president of the anti-Tyler fan club.
We have jackets.
Can I get one of those?
Do you want to be our secretary?
Yes.
And I'll add one other thing too, which is that in the immunity challenge, they in the I think the description of the episode or in the comments, they showed the answers for each of the touchy subjects ones. And
oh, really? Oh, I totally missed that. Oh my gosh.
So there's part of how they could have like clocked the idol play is that one of the questions was, who is going to be voted out next? And the most popular answer was Cheston.
Oh my God.
We see an idol play on Cheston this round somehow. It's crazy.
But
like I would totally be thinking that it was a fake out, like the fact that they were telling them, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's like the back and forth.
Yeah,
why would for sure. It's so obvious. Yeah.
Good job, Kirk.
Yeah, so Kirk is the MVP here because I didn't realize I was wondering where that idol had come from, if Cheston had found it on his own or if that truly was from Kirk. Because it's interesting, in the vote, Kirk votes against Suzette. You would think that if he was a part of that, he would know that he was going home anyways, and he should have just continued to play along with Tyler, Regan, and Suzette and have voted for Cheston.
Oh, that's interesting. That is I actually had not thought of that. That makes sense, because if you know Suzette's going, then he can say that. That's a good point, Matt.
Right at the very end of the episode, like Jaira says, "Okay, everyone, we're going to our next immunity challenge," and you see everyone stand up, and Kirk was sitting right beside Suzette, and now he has to talk to Tyler and Regan about who he voted for. So it would have been easier if he just voted for Cheston.
Yeah, and the way the votes were read, it was clear. It was like the other five were all on Suzette. If there were any other votes, they would have been read. One thing I'll also point out, I think Jaira's made some, like, I defend this as well. Like, I think Jaira's like made the episodes a lot shorter and punchier, and like even though things would have been obviously like left on the cutting room floor, I think those are like the right calls. In the immunity challenge, and again, I also defend him like cutting this out, but there's actually, so with the score, I was keeping score and I had made an error during it. And so what happened was, just as a way to rectify it, so Hunter had won the challenge originally, but as a way to rectify the error, Jaira just decided that the two people that were 1 point off, instead of doing like a tiebreaker and like getting them all back after the fact, Jack and Tyler also won immunity this round. And it wasn't shown. It didn't, because I think it didn't really affect the episode per se, but it kind of did affect the vote, because I think we could have potentially seen just a Tyler vote straight up at this point. And I do think also it kind of contributes to the episode on the side, because I think it's part of the source of Hunter's frustration. Because I think Hunter did kind of want Tyler out, and I think he was just frustrated that just kind of everything. Yeah. Should
we break down Hunter's breakdown?
That's what I was about to get to. We see Hunter, just be really.
I just read through the touchy subjects that you just told us is in the YouTube comments. Guys, you have to go read the touchy subjects.
Biggest poser. Yeah.
So Hunter. So this
poser.
explains more of his breakdown.
Mm-hmm. Like, no, I have the ones written down. He won who is the biggest poser, who is the most annoying, and who would you least want to be stranded on a desert island with, out of the 10-person cast, in a cast.
That's
where
why it's
Tyler's
called touchy subjects.
Yeah. Hunter gets pretty hammered with these negative superlatives, and so I think that is probably the main thing that contributes to this. Your thoughts on the Hunter confessional and just Hunter in this game overall?
So I wrote a whole list of like, all right, I'm like, why is Hunter breaking down right now, right? So I started typing up while I'm listening. He says it's really hard out here. He doesn't want to backstab people. He's being used as a pawn. He doesn't want to be a pawn. There's no way he's going to win. He wants to treat people like humans, and Kirk told him to calm down. And then reading the touch, and then I was thinking there's got to be more about the touchy subjects that we didn't see. Like that obviously had to be like the linchpin that really set him off. And then hearing those things, it's like, man, he probably feels awful. Like that's why he thinks he's not going to win. He's like, these people don't like me. They're not going to let me win. And I can imagine how frustrating that was. And then the music playing during his breakdown was kind of like the goofy music a little bit. It wasn't like it was just, just like kind of like light, light beat going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, this music needs to be the Jeff on Exile Island music. We need the violins going. We need the dramatic music for his breakdown. But it was kind of, kind of made it seem a little goofy while he's doing his breakdown. But man, I felt for him.
Mm-hmm. And to add a bit of context before I turn it to Matt and Stevie, if they have any thoughts as well, Hunter, because the story of the pre-merge just wasn't about the Medea tribe. We didn't see as much from them, but Hunter was like crazy on that tribe. He was making all these like fake idols, and he made these like elaborate notes using like paint and all that, and these elaborate idols. He actually like really effed with Jack. He like passed him an idol like after the challenge, like slapped him on the chest, and there's like an idol inside. It was super elaborate, and it was just to mess with him. Actually, no, I think it wasn't even idol. It's like something wrapped up, and they open it. It's like, LOL, just kidding. Like he was just like all over the place and super frantic, and it was a pretty big character that there's a lot of people kind of annoyed with him. A lot of people that found him fun. Like he was definitely one of the bigger characters in that. And then I think it just comes to a head at the merge where he gets these negative superlatives, and he doesn't, I guess, appreciate how he's being perceived by others. Any other thoughts on Hunter from Matt or Stevie?
I mean,
I have
guy,
a lot of thoughts on the breakdown. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Go ahead, Stevie. Go ahead.
I'll throw to you after Matt. So I thought that it was a good moment for the show. Honestly, like sorry for Hunter, but like that was like real raw emotions that we were seeing.
It really was.
Like, it was. Yeah, it was really real, and like I feel for him, like to place touchy subjects and get like shafted on like 3 answers, like that would hurt. And so I know, I just like that it was like honestly real, and like I feel for Hunter, because we can all imagine what that feels like when you like go to your group, like everybody wants to fit in, and feel like you don't fit in, like that hurts no matter like how old you are or anything like that. And for him, it might have hurt extra if he's a big fan of Survivor and if he's wanted to do this for a long time. I'm not sure if that was his first live game or not. But another aspect of it that was really interesting to me is like Hunter is a hardcore Survivor fan. Like, hasn't he hosted his own game before? So like you can't really get any more hardcore of being a fan than that. And yet, like, here he is playing the game. He's like, oh, like I have to use people as pawns. Like I don't feel good about this. And it's like you've been a fan like forever. Like it's really interesting that some people can love watching the game, but then when they go to play it, they're not cut out for it, which I just think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I feel terrible for Hunter just because it's a lonely feeling out there. A lot of the stuff goes on in your head. Like when you're sleeping at night, you're running through all kinds of things that you want to say to people, but you don't have that opportunity because it's like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and everyone's sleeping or trying to sleep because they're wide awake thinking about all the things that they want to say. So yeah, I mean, like it's emotionally taxing. And if you feel like you're out on the outside of a bigger group or something, or a group that you thought you were close with, then you're going to break down. So yeah. And the fact that it's raining there and these bugs are terrible, like, oh my God, I feel really bad for them because being outside, sleeping out there with the flies, especially with the rain, it's terrible.
Were the bugs bad when you guys played this last season?
not as bad, but
Okay.
we still had them buzzing in our ear all night long. So
Ugh.
Yeah, season 5 was an all-timer. There was just
You could see them in the video. You could see them all over him.
yeah, and being there is like a nightmare. You see Austin in the early episodes have his buff like all over his head, like
and his bucket hat covering up right here.
yeah, it was so necessary. It was a nightmare. But we've used a different location for 6 and 7, and it's been a little better there.
Good.
Yeah, on this episode specifically, early on, you can see like when they're going to merge, you can see all the moisture in the air and like how wet it is. And on this episode, we hear from Suzette and Hunter, who both say how tough the conditions are. So I think that they're really suffering this year.
I have to make a comment though. Something that has really bothered me these episodes is seeing the girls with their makeup bags at camp. Have you guys noticed this? There's Suzette putting on her false lashes one episode. There's oh my gosh, what's the other girl's name? Regan. Okay, oh my gosh, sorry. Brain fart. Regan putting on foundation. I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is not happening. Like, like there's gonna be episodes made, whatever, but that's not Survivor. You don't put on makeup in Survivor. Come on.
Yeah. There's like a limited bag of stuff you get when you play Survivor BC, and Suzette brought more than the typical contestant would bring, and Jairo just kind of said, "Cool, whatever."
Yeah, he's like, "Thanks for being here. You can keep it."
Yeah,
but it's very you want. It's very weird seeing people play Survivor with makeup on. It's startling.
That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, guys don't notice, right?
I mine.
I also wanted to bring it back really quick. I think there's a good point made in the Hunter discussion about just how different it is, and I think Hunter probably came into this game thinking that he would be cutthroat or like be able to play as methodically as he wanted to, but it is something that comes up whenever you play a game, just how different it is from like watching it to like being there and playing. It's so different. There's all the emotions that you go through, and also just like being tired and hungry and just generally uncomfortable the whole time. That takes a toll. Like I know for me, the gap between like me having an idea and my execution of the idea, there's definitely a lot of like interference in the middle for sure. The first time that I played a live game like BC4 is, it's definitely interesting to see, and it makes it more fun to watch the show afterwards though, because you kind of understand more like what people are going through. It's an interesting thing there.
Oh yeah, totally. So wait, what season did you play?
I played 4.
Okay, yeah, I went back, and once I got hooked on the Facebook live videos, I went back and started watching season 1, but I forget when I stopped.
The first episode is very long, but the characters get developed, and there's a lot of votes that are just like really bangers. Just putting it out there, shameless plug.
Season 4 made me a fan of Survivor BC. That was the first one I watched. It was good.
Yeah, so I mean, we've already gone ahead to the vote a lot. That great point about how Kirk actually could have disguised his vote. That's a really, really good point. And maybe how others could have as well. But with that being said, I mean, any other thoughts on the vote now that we know that Tyler is immune? And that's, I think, part of the reason why the vote fell on Suzette. I guess, what do you see going forward? What do you predict going forward for these people? Do you think we'll stay on these like tribal lines, or will some flippage happen? Do you foresee?
I think it would be amazing if Jack just continues. He's like the cockroach who just like continues surviving after destruction, after like everything blows up around him, and he just keeps on making it. I would love to see that. Mm-hmm. I'm a big Kirk fan. I love Kirk. I can watch any confessional he does. And I want him to do well in this game. And I think that idol play is pretty epic. Like I think that, didn't Jairo say at the beginning that there was a lot of like lost footage this episode? So there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to see. So like we didn't get to hear Kirk talk about why he was talk about him giving Cheston the idol and stuff. So I thought that was a great move. I can't wait to see Cole do some more math on like what his chances are moving forward. And I want to see Tyler Kakuna voted out. And a blind side, that'd be amazing. I would love it. Yeah, that's how I feel.
That's a good point too. As well, just about how I just lost my train of thought. I remember thinking you made a good point. I wanted to build off that, but I forgot. Damn it.
That's a great point, Devon. So I don't know. Tyler blindside, Kirk great idol play, Cole doing math, and we had
I forget it
the
is.
cockroach.
Matt or Stevie, thoughts on how you might see things going forward?
Now, are you guys
you go,
spoiled
Matt.
on how Jeff places? Did Jeff end up telling you guys how he does this season? Like, I know during the Facebook Live videos, they were trying to really hard not to spoil how Jeff and Tyler do this season. Are you guys?
We never actually met Jeff really because Jeff got voted out before any kind of. We never had a mix-up. We just had a merge. So.
And he probably left the campsite before.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay.
But we know how he plays because of Tyler.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So one thing about sort of we kind of glazed over.
I do think.
Go ahead, Stevie.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I don't mean to talk over you, Matt. I think after this vote with the 5 sticking together and using the idol, it does kind of make sense for them just to keep trucking with that direction, at least for a vote or two, because like Tyler and Regan, they're returning players that did really well. Like they're such icons. Now that they got Suzette out, I think it kind of is the easiest thing to keep going in that direction. But Tyler and Regan got a lot of skills, and they pull a lot of amazing stuff out. So I'm not giving up hope yet on what they can do.
Mm-hmm. And then, I think we've gone over the main beats of the episode. This is solid. Last thing, really quick. Who is your MVP of the episode? This can be both from a gameplay standpoint and just an entertainment standpoint. Who you thought was fun in this episode? We'll start with Matt.
Oh, geez. I mean, I'm a huge Kirk fan as well. So I'm going to go with Kirk before Hannah does.
Stop it.
I didn't realize that he had actually given that idol over to Cheston because obviously, he knew where the votes were going. And that's what you want. You want a perfect idol play every time. And it's an unselfish move. So hopefully they can regroup and continue on that track. I mean, it was a 5-5 split. And now the superstars of Regan and Suzette and Tyler are now sort of wounded, I guess. And we'll see where everything lands because Cole voted with them. And so did
Nolan.
My notes. Hunter. It was Hunter, Cole, Regan, Suzette, and Tyler voted against Cheston.
Oh, Nolan was on the other side. Oh my gosh.
Wait, really?
That's who I saw and wrote down. Maybe I switched Hunter.
I had written down Nolan and Cole voted with them.
You're right. I wrote Hunter twice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it was Nolan. Yeah.
What a poser. Just kidding. Who's your winner pick, Matt? Or who do you think is going to take it home?
Oh, I can't say.
Can't say. Do you know who it is?
I think we know who it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck. Fuck that, then.
Hannah's the only one on the outs on this one.
I know.
Hannah, who's your MVP?
MVP. I mean, I have to agree. Matt stole it from me, but with realizing that Cheston was playing Kirk's idol, that's the move you got to do. Kirk protected his numbers. He took out one of Tyler's numbers. They picked the person who you would think would be the least likely to have an idol played on them. That group was so idiotic to make that their touchy subject answer of who's the most likely to get voted out next. Like, I can't believe they actually did that. They weren't thinking through idols. I don't know. So Kirk is the MVP and Kirk is my winner pick as well.
And Stevie, who is your MVP of the episode, both from a gameplay and entertainment standpoint? Or from either?
I think Kirk had the best gameplay, but I have to say my MVP this episode is Suzette because she just has such an entertainment factor. I loved how she's talking about, how difficult it was for her to be out there, like as someone who's like not super active, not particularly outdoorsy. I loved how she was sharing like how out of her element she felt. I loved her reaction when she got idled out of the game. She was kind of laughing and crying at the same time. So that was fun. Like I wasn't sure how she was feeling. And then after she got voted out, she put such a positive spin on everything. Even though she was disappointed she didn't go further, she was talking about how much she had learned and grown from the experience. So that's something I really appreciated.
I love
Yeah,
that she got on Shuri.
Yeah.
her ending
Mhm.
thoughts, her like exit interview or whatever, her last thoughts in the episode were so good. Like it was great to hear that. I wonder if you guys feel the same way. Like when you've been voted out of a game, like I feel how Suzette felt. Like where I'm like, oh man, I'm so proud of myself. I did so well. I'm just, like, man, sucks to be voted out, but I feel great. So that's how you feel when you first get voted out. Wait, just like one night, 2 nights, and then you're up all night just thinking about what you should have done. Am I right? Have you guys been there?
Well, I want to turn things to our
Yeah, a little bit.
senior getting idled out correspondent, myself. And I can say that, I mean, it really does change when you're idled out. And I think that is interesting. Like my first ever game, I left by being idled out with only like 2 votes. And so I was like, I played great. This was fun. I was awesome. Like it was totally fun and all that. And then in my next game that I played, I was just like totally blindsided. And like I thought that I was like prepared for it because I'd played a game before. I'm like, getting voted out is so fun. It's just like you get to be happy with things. And then you realize that not so much. So I think part of it is getting idled out. Versus
So wait, even when you got idled out, you weren't like thinking through what you could have done to not be idled out?
I mean, part of it was also, I just got my ass whooped. It was, I mean, I'll give the exact context, who cares for season 4. It was a 4-person alliance, I was in versus like 2 people. And that round, one of the 2 people found the final idol of the game. And then that same person won individual immunity. So they just played the idol and the other person and they decided who went home. So I was like, well, I just got my ass kicked and props.
And like, I was the biggest threat, hair flip, right?
Yeah.
So you got to go out thinking that.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, so I say my MVP for the episode. I'm gonna give it to Hunter. You love the raw emotion, just like not being afraid to spill your emotions on camera. It's just great TV. It's under edited and pre-merged for understandably, but just a great episode for him from an entertainment standpoint. Shout out to Cheston too, underrated. His general smarminess, but also it's like weirdly relatable and endearing. That was fun this episode.
I've loved all of his confessionals all season long. I think his confessionals are really fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. So I think this was a nice little, I mean, it was long, but we went over the pre-merge, which was a lot. So I think that like half-hour episodes are kind of attainable. I think that this was a great panel. I think this worked out well. I think this will be fun going forward. Any last thoughts? Well,
like I said at the beginning when I introduced myself, like I am editing videos for a survival challenge, and like I could never ever reach the level that Gyra is on. Like the music is spot on. This is rushed release, but it's still better than anything I can create. I do think, you guys have a lot more content to work with. So Devon, like, are you guys with your phones up in camp like all day long?
Pretty much. It was a smaller team. It was me, Luke, and Maddie from season 4 and Luke from season 7. Just like going around with their phones and all that. And Gyra had other equipment. Like it's pretty heavy duty. Gyra does a lot of it. Like he has this generator that we're all like hooking up our devices to, and he's like running around doing everything. Last thing also, it's a good note to end on giving Gyra props because this was a stressful round. They like checked Gyra's permit for the campsite, even though it's totally valid. And so there's stress around that during the most important round. Like it was a super stressful round for production. And then I felt horrible for like miscounting in the immunity challenge and all that. Like it was as stressful as it can possibly be on a production end. And yet the end result just looks fantastic as usual. And yeah, Gyra's a king. Great. Well, signing off from our respective entertainment studios, this is Devon Sampson for the Survivor BC Deus Ex Machina recap. We will see you after the next episode, probably sometime like soon after the next episode, or at least like when enough people can watch. I think that'd be fun to do it like sooner after the release of the next episode. All right, signing off.
Bye, guys. Thanks
for
a great